Okay. Welcome, community. Welcome, everyone, to another mastermind call. If anyone's new here, there might be a few new people coming on in a minute and a few people watching the recording. These are awesome calls. The community are basically made up of 4 components, if you're not familiar. So the community is basically vibing and benefiting off, obviously, the work with mindset, which I dive in deep on, help people really shift those internal patterns of fear, doubts, and frustrations. We do that also on Zoom calls once a week. We also get in there and dive in deep on membership collaboration. So we'll be doing more of that, all the membership collaboration, allowing people to grow as one and form partnerships and that sort of thing. And then we also have an aspect which I'll be injecting a bit more, obviously you guys have seen, which is making a difference. So really being able to make a difference and doing what we can as a community to help those worthy causes around the world. And it's been really, really cool to see that everyone's on board with that. And I'm really, really looking forward to getting creative on how we can make that happen more in this community as this year unfolds. But obviously the next one is these mastermind calls where we have experts like Jacquie come in and explain a bit more about their expertise and teach us more of the tactics, tools, and strategies on what we can implement in our business, so we can get some more clarity, we can get some more understanding on how to grow our audience, how to really message and market our products or services in a way that's, you know, aligned with us and in a way that boosts our success. So I'd love to open up for Jacquie because she's going to explain a bit more about branding, a bit more about positioning in a way that you might not have heard before, but in a way that's more heartfelt, a way that's more aligned, and a way that's going to allow you to feel good and not feel pressured of trying to get it right. That's always a key distinction. So, Jacquie, I'd love to open up the floor and get you to answer a little bit about yourself and share with us where your experiences come from, all those good things.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Jacquie Baker. Thank you for spending some time today. I'll just quickly give you a rundown on me. I've got an agency called Silverlane. We've been operating for about 9 years. We work predominantly in brand, so creating logos, positioning, websites, and we have a range of clients from little startups through to big companies and then like publicly listed companies, and then we do a lot of celebrity and TV work as well. So I've got a weird thing where I work with Screen Australia and YouTube and different TV companies trying to sell their shows to Amazon and Netflix and that. So and about 4 years ago, we were the only company in Australia that had a contract with the federal government to mentor small businesses on digital marketing. So over a period of 18 months, we worked with over 600 businesses to help them give tips and usable information for people that were starting up or small to help increase their income. So we've kind of got this weird mishmash of skills around branding, positioning, selling products. We've built over 1,000 websites. We kind of know our shit. But Tyson and I have been connecting because I guess I had a similar profound change last year when I just completely cracked it, basically. Silverlane was heading in a direction that wasn't congruent for me, and I kept thinking if I could just keep working, pushing, things will get better. And what happened was things didn't get better. I got really sick, and it's just that classic story. If you're not in alignment, things just don't go well. And part of what we did, my husband and I, he's in the business with me, was we went through, and I just said, I don't want to be working with these assholes anymore. You know, it was just these money men that wanted to manipulate and use language and emotions and what we're really good at just to get basically customers through the door. And when I was saying to them, what are you selling? What's the value that you're adding? They could never answer they couldn't answer that one question, which is what are you giving to your clients? And I kind of felt like I was using, I felt like, I don't know, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I felt like I was turning to the dark side, and that I was using my Jedi mind skills for the wrong. And it was kind of like, well, this doesn't feel right. And so when we were looking at what we needed to change in our business, which is really scary, we went through and we looked at all the customers that we've ever had, and we kind of put them into 3 piles. One were the ones that they just are in flow, and no matter what they do or say, the world is just they're just breezing along, the wind's under their sails, and everything falls into place for them. Then there's the people that pay us to, and those were our ultimate great clients. Then there was this pile which were, it was almost like pay us to get rid of their problems. Like, I don't want to deal with my shit. Here's $10,000. It's now your job to make everything feel better. And those were the ones that had absolutely no connection to their values, or we couldn't identify their values. They needed to do personal work. So even though they potentially were highly successful, they were really, really fear-based. They were worried about money. They were worried about their status. They were worried about the next partnership deal that could fall over. They were worried about what their friends would think of them if they didn't pull something off. So those were predominantly the people that the projects wouldn't flow, they wouldn't connect, nothing that we worked with them was ever right, even though we would work so much harder for these people to keep them happy. They were the ones that were, and we kind of were looking at them going, oh wow, look at the least profitable businesses, the least profitable projects for us. The hardest projects were the people that were just so obviously fear-based. And then there was this other beautiful set of people which were good hearts, potentially less experience, and they kind of were in this place where you'd go, oh, if they could just connect with themselves, they would be in the first pile. So they were the ones that were kind of not quite tapping into their authentic self because they had misconceptions of who they thought they would be in the market. And we could kind of go, oh, those were the ones that we really had to talk to about their values, their vision for the future. And we really had to sort of get them to dig a little bit deeper for them to be able to get excited about the work that they were doing. So we kind of went through, and I was like, it's so fascinating that if you take traditional branding language, such as positioning statements and your ideal target audience and you start moving away from that and you start having conversations around who do you want to work with, what feelings do you want to create, what would make you feel aligned. We found that we quickly got to those traditional marketing speak and those understandings a lot quicker, because it wasn't being seen through the lens of the brain trying to intellectualize what they wanted. We stepped it down into the heart, and the heart doesn't need to intellectualize or justify or try and rationalize decisions. You usually get a really pure, quick answer. And so what we found was that those people stepped into alignment faster, their businesses started to perform at a higher level, and they were able to do and connect with clients that paid them more, and they were able to create partnerships that just helped blow this wind in the sails, and it was a lot easier. So that's kind of my intro and what I was thinking that we should talk about today.
What an intro. And I just want to get a quick poll here for people who are on. Does it resonate with you where I talk to a lot of people in this community, right? You guys are my online fan bam, and I can sense a very clear pattern with a lot of people here, a lot of people in other groups, other business groups, where you have a very, very kind heart, and you're also learning from business courses that are all about the tactics, tools, and strategies of how to get more sales. And is getting to a point where it doesn't align with you anymore. And it gets to a point where consciously or unconsciously it feels like you're just manipulating to get a sale. And that's where Jackie's saying you're coming from a place of fear. Now, I just type in 1 if you recognize you have a very heart-based intention, you have a kind heart, but at some level, some of the sales tactics are starting to feel very misaligned.
Yeah,
I'd love to see who here resonates with that, because that's definitely me. That's definitely me, because I've shifted a lot of how I go about business in the last, especially the last few months. Exactly what you just said, Jackie, is I just started really coming from a place of my alignment first. So I got rid of a few clients. I started only, I didn't put out more marketing stuff. I went in and said, who is it that I want to work with and what will that make me feel? So now I'm only looking for clients who feel aligned, who feel that put me in flow, who I love to get on the phone with, which is why I changed my offer to unlimited coaching, and also those who I can co-create with and collaborate with. Right? It's not just that relationship it's not a coach-client relationship traditionally. It's ones in which I can truly co-create with, and that's what puts me in alignment. So we got Andrea, Jess, Bram, Richard. Hello, Glenda. How you doing? Irene. So it seems like a lot of people are sticking to what you're saying here, Jackie. So what is it you can give us in terms of some advice on that area?
Well, and I just want to say, if you guys have got any questions, I'm far better at answering questions than what I am just speaking out. But I guess here's the thing. I'm going to bring up a couple of little examples if we can screen share. And I'm just going to work through, I use a model called the brand equity model. And I'm just working out how that sits from that heart-based place. But I'm going to step you through this, because when people look at branding, they kind of get stuck, and they kind of think there's a few things that happen, and they go, I'm just starting up, I'll get somebody to do something, or I'll do it myself, and it doesn't matter. Once I get started, I will pay attention to this later on. And then the other thing that they go is, I'm just like, I'm a small business, I'll take any customer. And it doesn't really matter. Everybody's my target audience, right? And so there's a couple of things that if you don't clean up, I kind of think of it as like, imagine if you were having a party and you were just like, well, let's just go have this party at this dump in this empty car park. People won't mind where the party is. And then we're just going to invite everybody that we've ever met into this party. And then what happens is the people that you really want to work with or party with and have a great time and laughs, you don't actually get to spend time with them because you've accidentally invited a bunch of drunks into your party and they're kind of kicking down the place and setting fires. So, you know, like, you've got to put your business into context that if you are, if you want to live a life that is fulfilled and satisfying, your business needs to feel easy. It needs to feel graceful, and you've got to maintain a level of excitement in it, because it's the excitement that's going to attract your clients to work with you. And it's basically just matching vibrations. If we're going, sorry to bring in a little bit of woo, but you know, you want to make sure that you're connecting and working with the people. So I've got, if I bring up the slide here, I don't know. Is that going to present, or
so you can click on share screen, and then you can just click which screen you want to share, and then I think there's
okay. Sorry, guys.
And first of all, I just want to know, I don't know what kind of parties you're running, but I've never set fires to any houses.
Yeah, well, maybe not that, but you know that feeling that it's just it's not quite awesome, and you're like, had all these hopes and dreams that you're going to have a really good party, and then the mix wasn't right. So I guess the thing that people don't talk about is that your business should feel easy. The whole idea that you've got to struggle and push and hustle and challenge, I think, has been used too much in the online communities. to sell, because that's tapping into fear-based energy. And of course, we're wired to be attracted to fear. It's part of our survival skills. But if you look at what the people and the most successful businesses and the people around you that you kind of like are inspired to be like, their lives are pretty easy. We're rebranding and building a website for Celeste Barber at the moment, and I cannot tell you how graceful and full of ease her life is. It's just amazing. So I've got this little diagram here. We all understand the equity when it comes to our homes. And what we see is a lot of people, their houses, if their business was a house online, it would kind of look like this. And you wouldn't feel comfortable living in a house. Well, maybe you would, but you know, you would sit there and you'd look at it and go, oh, this isn't comfortable. This isn't a house that I want to relax in. This isn't a house that makes me feel happy. And this house actually isn't worth anything. There's a lot I could do. And then if you were to go and sell it or look at it, or if your clients were like, which house do I want to hang out in? They're probably going to go with the one that's in alignment. Doesn't have to be the biggest, fanciest house, but it feels like there's some care. It feels like it knows that it's a house, not a shack. So what I'm trying to say is, if you look at your business and you understand brand, you want that alignment and that feeling. You want to feel proud. You want this house to feel like you can recognize it as something you want to be associated with. And you want to, and because people will also recognize that. So people talk about positioning and they talk about attracting their ideal clients. And then they build this whole thing that they've got to go out networking, or they've got to build all these relationships. And that's because they know who they are potentially, and they're not able to resonate that online through their messaging. Oh. So yeah, so everything should feel aligned, everything should be in its place, and you should feel comfortable first. So if you're in business and you don't feel comfortable, your number one job is to feel comfortable. If you feel a level of comfort, it means that you're not feeling in fear. And if you use that fear to try and align yourself to comfort, you're going to feel good. Now, I know everyone talks about pushing out of your comfort zone. This is just at least getting to the point where you are comfortable to be able to then move out into a new comfort zone. So we use brand equity, which is how businesses grow. And if you understand brand equity, it means that you don't have to spend a lot of money on advertising, and you understand that what you're really trying to do is build really good relationships with people. So brand equity is these 5 areas of your business. So you're wanting to look at brand loyalty. So, you know, if you think of a product that you just always buy, like maybe you always buy Nike shoes, and you're loyal to that brand because you trust it, you know what it is, you understand the value that you're going to get. Name awareness is one of the things that people really forget to do when they're starting out. And that is the fact that people need to know and understand what a brand is and what a business is before they start by purchasing it. So most businesses and most people need to be aware of that brand name at least 15 to 20 times before they feel comfortable enough to even investigate what it is, let alone purchase it. So what happens is you'll see a lot of people online, they'll push these ads out online and they're just giving money to Facebook or wherever they're doing it, and they're not building the brand awareness. And so those ads aren't converting because nobody really knows what it is. So when we work with our clients, we always say, hey, do 3 months of brand awareness, name awareness, before you expect any sales, because it's going to come in and it's going to feel familiar and safe, and people are going to feel great and curious about what it is. Perceived quality is huge. I always say people buy from people like themselves. And so if you are wanting to either work with people that are, I don't know, driving, women that are shopping at Country Road and they're driving a new Mazda 3 and they get their nails done and they've got an element there, trying to then turn up in your Kmart clothes and disheveled from a personal level is not going to match. But also, if you think about the brands that your clients are probably going to be spending their money on at a regular and often, they're expecting that level of quality from all of their suppliers. So that's around consistency of your graphics. It's consistency of the language around what you're doing, how the frequency of what you're doing, because if you are going to be working and your part of quality is consistency, you want to be able to deliver those messages at a regular pace. Then we've got brand associations over here, and this is really the most powerful place for any business to be able to boost their profile, make more money, and kind of shortcut the usual growth trajectory. So if you think about brand associations, that's when you take one brand of equal or better brand equity and you do a collaboration together. So last year we were working with a kitchen company and they're trying to take on IKEA, and their demographic were people that were really into Gorman clothing. So we went and talked to Gorman and started working on a collaboration that Gorman's patterns of their dresses could be splashbacks in kitchens, and it then brings it into this place where the Gorman audience now becomes aware of the kitchen audience, or those types of things. So you're really wanting to leverage off somebody that's got similar values and similar audience that you would love to work with. And I always say to my clients, don't collaborate down, always collaborate up, or collaborate across. So find those mutual kind of connections and values, and don't collaborate down to something because it may not resonate with your audience. So, for example, if we took Country Road and then Country Road did a collaboration with, I don't know, VB, even though they're two really big brands, they probably don't have the same values and the same audience, and it just confuses the heck out of everybody.
For those who are international, VB it's Victorian Bitter, which is a beer company.
Yeah, and Country Road's like a ladies brand. And then the other part of brand equity, which you can only really do once you've got everything else, is your other proprietary brand assets. And this is where the real fun is, and this is where you see exponential growth in people who've got either a personal brand or companies. So I was listening to a podcast with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson the other day. He's got his personal brand, he does his acting, he's got his wrestling, and now he's just releasing a tequila range, right? The power of that tequila range is that it's going to blow all those little tequila brands out of the market, and he's going to be able to jump into the marketplace with reasonable market share because it's his brand that's associated with it. And you'll see, Tony Robbins does it. He's got 100 different companies. You'll see once people have got the establishment of their own brand, whether it be personal or corporate, it's a lot easier to be able to find brand associations and do collaborations, and then create more money through different products and different assets. So that's kind of the overview of how when we're looking at brand, we're not just looking at logos, we're looking around how you can connect and build relationships with people, your clients or your customers, and how to make sure that they are just supported and loved. Yourself, make sure you're supported and loved, and then collaboration partners that you are wanting to support and love each other, I guess.
And can I just jump in quickly? So what would be some tips or some practical steps? So if someone's on here and they're a coach or they're a consultant or they're growing an online business where they might have they've got a website up there, they're doing some things on social media. What's some practical tips they can, or where would you say they could start? Obviously, you said the collaboration piece is a really cool thing that can get you elevated, but is more of the awareness piece? Is it more of the branding itself? What would you say
Well,
to people here?
does somebody want to just jump in and tell me what they do on that chat, and we won't use you specifically, but I'll understand. You know, is it a coach? Is there a coach on there, or you know, or where are people in their business? Are they startups? Are they 5 years old? Like 5-year businesses, 20 years businesses? Does somebody want to just jump in there and we'll kind of frame it out?
Sure.
With a person.
Let's go with a few people. Let's type in the chat, see what it is. What it is you guys do. How did you do it? Share a little bit about. So we got
cool. So we've got here Christine's a startup quantum voice coach. Okay, so there's something. I'm just gonna. The coaches out there. Are you guys familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? I'll just jump online and see if I can get So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a massive thing for what I use for being able to show people where they are in people's businesses, right? So I'll just bring up an image, share my screen. Sorry, guys. This is a big thing for life coaches and anybody in the coaching space that I have. That if we bring this up, so most businesses, the higher up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the harder it is to sell. It's the hardest thing to find clients. And if you think of physiological, so that's money, sex, and housing. So you think about porn, banking, real estate, that's where all the money's made in large sums. And it always feels like, you know, because it's stuff that everybody needs. The next one's safety, housing, food. You'll see, you know, all the big food brands fit in that safety. You need to eat, you need to wear clothing. Love and belonging is where most of the social media platforms sit. So you're looking at Facebook, some clothing labels, bear brands use love and belonging a lot, like that male, masculine, tribal, hang out with your mates, go fishing. When we start moving into self-esteem, you start getting the higher end of the fashion brands. So you're looking at your Gucci and your Louis Vuitton. Some coaches operate in this space. And then if you start looking at the self-actualization, this is people that are wanting to be more. They're wanting to have a deeper understanding of their place in the world and their life. Now, as those... obviously, everybody on the planet is potentially in different categories. So you can't really, if you don't have a place to live and you're out and you've got no shelter, it's really hard to be self-actualized because you're not able to have money to feed yourself and rah, rah, rah. Does that make sense so far? I usually draw this out.
So the question that comes to my mind is how you tie this to your own personal alignment. So if people here are coaches, or even those like Dawn's been marketing systems for 15 years, and DJ as well has been in business for 3 years. In terms of if I'm a coach and I'm helping people develop their lives in a better way, we don't necessarily focus on the physiological aspects of where you say the money is, but where would alignment come into it? Is do we stick to what is aligned for us, or do we sort of combine that also with where the money is? What would you sort of say?
Well, you have to be aware, right? Because there's a couple of ways of doing it. Because the self-actualization one is, the coaching becomes hard if you try to sell on, hey, I can help you get more money into your business and rah, 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 which a lot of coaches do, and that's a lot of their positioning. And it's coming from a heart place thing, like, oh man, if you could just, if I can see all this potential in you, and if you can just, you know, do this, your life's going to be so much better. But what often happens is that those businesses, if they're not ready to make those moves, or those people aren't ready to make those moves, they become terrible clients because they never have enough money to pay for you, and they may not, or they might, but you know, it becomes very dicey. So part of what you want to be able to do with your branding and your alignment is to acknowledge that these people may not be 100% aligned all the way up, because very few people are, but to make sure that you are attracting and talking to people that aren't going to give you those headaches. You know, like the marketing company that's been in for, what's it, 15 years? You know, those clients that aren't going to be the easy ones, because they may not know how to have the movement there to be able to change. So you want to position your language to a place that's going to resonate, where you're going to get the most success. Because as a coach, or as anybody that's trying to help people, your self-esteem is also going to be based on the results that you're able to help with people. And I've seen a lot of amazing coaches position themselves with people that are slightly out of alignment, and then their self-esteem starts derailing because they're not able to get the results that they thought that they could. But it's not because they aren't amazing at what they do, it's that they were positioning to the wrong market, and they were attracting the wrong type of clients. And those were the clients that were in a place of desperation, and they were there. So when we go to branding and you look at coaching, I think there's some language is a massive thing, right? So I'm going to show you another screen of how language can change the way that you attract people. So this is a client that we worked with last year, and they kind of were in that she'll be right. So this was what they looked like: affordable financial advice for ordinary Australians. So their vision was that they want to help, you know, people that don't normally have access to financial advice be able to access it at an affordable rate. But if you look at the word, nobody wants to be considered ordinary, and they're talking about Australians, but they've got, is that the Golden Gate Bridge? They've got obviously an American bridge. So if you looked at that, even if you weren't paying attention, on some level, you're just going to be feeling like, what the fuck? This isn't right, right? So we worked with them to really understand what their dreams were. We rebranded them because if you are an ordinary Australian, you still want to feel aspirational. You still want to feel safe. You still want to feel like you are, that you want to feel good about yourself. So, and they were over here, you'll see they were using a lot of fear, which is a traditional way of selling any financial product, is through fear. Because it's so low on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's also attached to a lot of fear-based thoughts. So we rebranded them, and then we started changing their dialogue around, we put this together for H&R Block, which is your financial compliance partner. We were like, well, instead of working with individuals, why don't you go to someone like H&R Block? They've got similar audience, similar people that are in the same block, and let's start working through and create a brand partnership where they actually put your products into H&R Block. So we changed the language from ordinary Australians to everyday Australians. We started using people that looked like them, and we actually got a national distribution deal where H&R Block are now going to be selling their financial advice and referring to them and sending out emails saying, hey, if you earn under $100,000 a year, these guys can put together a financial plan for $120. And that model's now been approved in H&R Block through the states, and it's able to be going through there. So using the idea of brand and finding the resonance and the frequency that's going to work means that then you open up your eyes and you look for different opportunities. So if they kept if their branding and alignment wasn't right, even though they were super passionate about helping people, super aware that they could make a difference, if they kept down that path where their imaging and their positioning wasn't congruent, they would have just hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and they wouldn't have been able to get the cut through that they could by looking like $1 billion business that then H&R Block's going to take seriously. So if you're a coach, you've got to make sure that I was working with a coach a couple of weeks ago, and he went totally alpha. So his language was all about pushing through to build world-class leaders, and it was so alpha and so masculine that it was like he was trying to attract world bodybuilders or something. He wasn't actually trying to attract, the language wasn't congruent with the accountants that he really wanted to work with. Now, I've never met an accountant that wants to push through and smash the barriers and disrupt the world. That's not who they are. There might be a rarity, but as soon as you say, hey, we work with you to optimize your efficiency and help you take time off and work with your family, and the language soon changed, and then he was able to take that to an accounting partnership firm and create distribution channels. So that's how we work, which is kind of, don't pigeonhole yourself because you haven't thought of the big picture. Find the stuff that really, really excites you and use that as your guiding torch, not what everybody else is doing. Because if you follow what everybody else is doing, you're going to lower your vibration. You're not going to be excited. You're going to be looking around for comparing. And as soon as, my favorite quote is, comparison is the theft of joy. And it's so true. You start looking around going, oh, well, that coach has got 100 clients paying them $2,000 a week, and he does these free ebooks, and he's built this lead funnel, and what happens is you start losing your own potency, and you start shutting down the ability to be able to go, actually, that's good for him. I friggin' hate ebooks, never read one in my life, so why the hell would I try and get people to read one if I've never looked at it? I actually love going for walks, so I'm just going to invite everybody that I know to come for a walk and talk each week. And in that walk and talk, we're going to get some fresh air, we're going to feel energized, and I'm going to connect with people that love to walk. Those are the types of alignments and bringing that energy and that kind of consideration into helping build your brand that's going to make a huge difference, if not just to your mental health, because you're not trying to do a bloody ebook and you're sitting there with block after block, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do, because you're really good at talking, but when you sit down to write, nothing ever comes out. If you just let go of that, you'll start to understand that your special uniqueness is the thing that can then build a really big, strong brand about.
And I just want to give people on the call just a chance to let that sink in, because this is something I remind myself of time and time again. And I have so many people reaching out saying, how do I do this? How do I market? How do I grow a community? How do I build a Facebook group? All those different things. And like me, you can sort of tell that they're looking at the other coaches in the world, the other people who have positioned their personal brand, and have said, look, they've done it this way. They've done it through social media, they've done it through Instagram, they've done it through a blog, they've done it through a podcast, whatever it may be. And they're like, what should I do? How should I do it? And I always say exactly what you said. It's like, look in. What makes you feel in flow? What makes you feel aligned? And when you stick to that, when you operate from inside first, that energy, that vibration, that operating from a different channel will allow you to have answers flow through. And then if you stick to your alignment, I think another thing, if we backtrack, from what you said earlier, is
I do talk a lot, sorry.
You operate from that place, business doesn't have to be hard. It does.
Exactly.
It can actually be easy. It can actually be in flow. And in fact, that's probably the only way we should do it these days. I mean, it can be someone's expansion to go and hustle and work hard if they're going from a victim mentality, for example. If they're going from a victim mentality and they've just been on the couch for 5 years, it may be their expansion, it may be their flow, it may be their alignment to go out and hustle and realize that they're in control of their life. But most of the people here have been in business for a while, and especially those who are watching the recording as well, who are going to be jumping on. It's a place where we're in business now, and you can start to feel that the hustle and grind isn't going to get you the results, isn't going to put you in alignment. It's not going to get you the lifestyle or the freedom that you want. And so operating from that place of alignment first can make things a lot easier.
And doubling down on that. So you'll see that there's a lot of people that's their messaging, right? And so it's it's that looking around and seeing it, you know, do your 30-day challenge to improve. Here's your blueprint. You know, it's very much what people are saying, because it's really easy to sell that, is systemized, kind of replicatable ideas. And you see that, I see a lot of people saying that to the coaching and the consultative businesses, follow these steps, do this, do that. But what may have worked for one person doesn't work for another. And there's very little conversation around this is actually taking me out of flow. This is actually not aligned. I don't actually get any joy from working with these, you know, this niche of working with mechanics or working with whatever you decide, because they make, you know, the biggest thing that I've seen over the last 5 years is people going, right, I'm going to work with tradies. Tradies make a lot of money. They can pay the bills, and there's potential for them to create a lot of money. But the thing is that then tradies are not necessarily the right people, because for those particular people, because they don't want to get up and have phone calls at 5 o'clock in the morning before the tradies start work, and they don't want to drive out on site to be able to help the tradies do, you know, it's like, well, you're chasing the money. You're looking at the opportunity, and what you're going to try and do, you might find some, but you're probably going to hit a capacity issue, because there's a lot of kind of sandpaper that's going to wear you down on that, you know. And then, so it's just really being brave and really trusting that your heart knows that you've got a guiding kind of light, and that the stuff that brings you the most excitement and the stuff that brings you the most joy, when you tap into that and you start building either your personal brand or your business language around it, you're actually going to take a lot of pressure off yourself internally, and that's going to give you a lot more excitement. You're going to get a lot more wins, so that those wins build your confidence up, so then you're a little bit braver to partner with some slightly bigger people or some other opportunities. And that is the most important thing to help get that growth through flow and ease, as opposed to right, this is what I've seen everybody do. I need to get my logo blue. I need to get a photo of me on the website with my arms crossed, wearing a suit and tie, because that's what everybody else does. I need to write about me and the struggles that I've been, and I need to show me with a kid on a hip, because that's how women get a lot of significance. I'm a woman in business, here's my 3 kids. So whatever those tropes are that potentially have worked for other people, that was their authentic self, that was their truth, and they have had a lot of success. It's worked for them because it is their authentic truth. You know, we had a client and she just loved this female coach, so she went and hired a white Mercedes for the day and bought a $2,000 white beautiful suit and got her hair done and put this big lipstick on and got all these photos of her on the on the white car in the white suit. And it was just so terrible, because she wore jeans all the time. She swore. She never wore makeup. she just loved to have a joke. And it was like, man, I would pay money to work with you and Eugene swearing, but I would never pay money to work with you. And then she was attracting people that were attracted to the white Mercedes and the white car, and it didn't work, right? And that's an extreme example, but those little tweaks and those little honesties and those little bits of vulnerability are the things that make you feel good about yourself. If you ignore, and I've heard you talk about this, if you don't look at your fears and you push down those little feelings of resistance and you ignore them, they're going to bubble up.
Totally. Yeah, that's what I found. And a lot of people in the community who reach out to me say they can tap into this stuff. They can start to feel what's aligned once they start doing the inner work, once they start doing their meditations. That's why I love doing those group calls once a week, is because people can resolve those conflicts, and then they add that into their business where they can start feeling who's aligned, what path is aligned, what.
Totally.
I mean, I did, like a lot of you know my story, I started and I did 6 hours of meditation in one day, and I resolved all these huge stories and conflicts and everything like that. And what came out of that was not only this community that I built on Facebook, but also also the Zoom calls, the transformational group coaching calls, because I felt aligned. I'm like, man, it'll be cool when I grow my audience to a place where I can do group coaching, because that would put me in flow. And I'm like, why don't I just do that now, right? Why don't I just do that now so that I'm in flow? So not only is everyone getting a lot of benefit, but I'm like that is when I could just do it all day, every day. And that's where the ideas come from for me.
Totally. And so I meditate twice a day. All my most purest ideas or whatever, they're gifted to me when I'm meditating. I don't even think they're me, but those when I center myself and I listen to those kind of things, it's amazing how quickly they get implemented and they work, and there's very little resistance. But the ones where I'm mega minding out, which I've definitely got my brain loves to fix a problem, and the ego gets really excited by the fact that it's getting to do that. Those are the hardest. Those are the ones that I battle with, because my brain's overridden my heart, my ego's involved. It doesn't want to let go of that, because the ego doesn't want to seem like it's made a mistake. It creates a whole lot of conflict, and those ideas and those projects don't work. And it's the same when I work with my clients. If we work together and we both are on the same page about something, that idea is going to be taken on board, and it's going to be accepted and part of that business, and it's going to be exciting, and they're going to get excited. But if I use my Jedi mind tricks to push an idea or what I think their vision is through my experience, and it's not aligned with them for whatever reason, it might be fears or it might be a shitty idea, if they take that on board and I know that that's not the right vibration, and they'll either never use it and they'll have wasted their money, or they'll use it but it never excites them enough, and so then they don't get the results from it. So we've learned to be very, very careful around checking in, really that co-creation, because even though we have a lot of experience, it's kind of like if we're doing all this brand work and it's like saying, hey, you look great in this ball dress, but you hate this ball dress. For all the ladies out there, you'll know this. You know that it looks good, but you just don't vibe on it. That dress is going to be put into the wardrobe and it's never going to be worn. And it's just never going to make you feel good. So that's the other thing for coaches and consultants, and that when you are working with your clients around saying, hey, you're going to need to get some marketing, you're going to need to do marketing to be able to get some results and get new clients, or hey, you're going to have to go out and collaborate and find some new clients. You've got to make sure that when you are to maintain the integrity of your brand, is to make sure that that resonance and that ideas are being lovingly accepted, not begrudgingly adopted. It's that, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. No, it's it is a good idea, but it's not the right idea for you. Let's go back to the soundboard. Let's have a chat about it. Let's talk about what's going to feel right for you.
That's so cool. And so I can see such a huge shift for me once I stop looking out here for the answer, start looking in here. Because when you look in here, all that just makes sense. The more you look in here and the more you go off this feeling, the more answers for all that stuff will just flow through. And so that's where it starts becoming easy. So you could probably think after this call, when you're in your business throughout this week, is ask yourself a question: what if this was easy? What if this was in flow? What if I felt aligned? What if this just came out of me? And you'll get your brain moving on what you can do internally.
Exactly. So I'll just quickly show just one other thing that I thought might be good for. So say you get your understanding of your vibe, right? So I'll just quickly show you a couple of things. So this guy here, he had built his brand, and what we do for a lot of businesses is that the founder, the business has been built on the founder's personal brand, and then when they try to leave and do something, they still want to talk to that person, and there's a lot of overwhelm because the business is still valid, but the owner's needs have shifted and they want to go and do something different, but they can't let go of the business that they've built because it was built on their personal brand. This was Web Savvy. So Mike, who's there, he's considered one of the top 18 Google experts in the world, as nominated by Google. So flies around to Russia and Germany and the States doing these talks, but he'd built his business where everyone wants to use Mike. So we rebranded him and we had to take him out of the picture. But we wanted to keep the essence of Mike and what felt good about Mike and their marketing. So we just changed the language and started to remove that personal brand and swap it out. It's kind of like that Indiana Jones thing where you're like, okay, everyone loves this. We're going to because it's tough if you want to do different stuff in your life, but you've accidentally trapped yourself into this role where everyone's dependent on you for. It stops you from being able to grow and evolve. But for those companies that are out there that are using social media and they feel like they're doing some good branding and they're doing some good work, but they're not feeling like they're getting the right traction, even though they're kind of investing. So here's a client that we worked with last year, and you look at his social media, he had his social media company doing this for him. He was spending $2,000 a month to kind of get everything looking what I would say is reasonable. When we started working with him, his name was Hatch, and we were just like, it's not strong enough in the market. You would never see any of those images, but on the first screen, you'd never be able to recognize it. So a time poor person that kind of has met you and loves you and that, they wouldn't know if it was yours or not. So we created some really strong collateral so that there was no mistake when the people in Tim's network were scrolling through Instagram and Facebook, they knew that it was Tim's business, right? If you can find your vibe that you're excited about and get a formula that's completely yours and it's consistent, it's like seeing that same shitty KFC ad that they run for 3 months on the ad breaks it's consistency, 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 consistency. At a base level, that's all you really need to do in an authentic way to make sure that your brand is building. You know, get a look, get a vibe, get your language right, and don't feel like you have to change it up. Those conversations that you have one-to-one, they'll obviously change. But when you're trying to work with your clients, you want some consistency there that they know. Now these little eggs that we made, they're so cute, you know, so also think what's your audience wanting? Do you want to make money through fear or do you want to make money through cuteness? You might not make get as many inquiries, but the people that you're going to work with are going to be the ones that are fun and excited about the future and open to new ideas.
The one down the bottom's my favorite. Bottom
This
right.
guy,
No, that's definitely reminds me of me when I'm meditating. It's awesome. So to finish up, this has been so cool. So I think it'd be awesome if you could just give us maybe 3 or 4 questions we can ask ourselves, like at the start where you said, gave us the ideas of thinking about, like, who do I love working with? What things. So one thing we do also on these calls is I place a post in the group. So one thing I'll do is I'll post in the group so that people who are live here can comment what their biggest takeaway was from this call. So not only that'll give good feedback for you and for me of what the takeaway was, but also everyone who comments can see who was on this call. So you can interact with Jackie can interact with you, and you can all interact with each other, so that you know who was on this call, and you can reach out and you can start building those relationships as well with people who are learning this stuff and doing the inner work. So while I post that, it'd be cool for a really cool takeaway for people to think about a few questions they can ask themselves, so they can start taking this from intellectual and practical to sort of something that can really start sinking in.
So I guess one of the things that I've always found is that I'm a complete nerd when it comes to brand theory, right? So I can construct and I can score people's brands and I can tell, but I cannot think of a single great brand that was feeling like that was based on a founder. Right? So no great brand has ever been manufactured without a great vision. And if I'm happy to be proven wrong, because I would love to go, no, actually this was made and blah, blah, blah. And I know that it sounds really contrite when you say, what's your vision? And I've been wondering about this, going, before you can usually see things, you usually feel things. So I am wondering, what is the feeling that people are wanting? Because I think once you can feel the future, then it's easier to be able to see the future. But it's often you can't see the future without that feeling. So I think people go, you need to know your why. I think you need to know yourself, and I think you need to understand what feelings you want to feel, and that's the first place. So do you want to feel stressed out? Do you want to feel happy? Get real, honest with it. Like part of my thing was I absolutely love suffering. And I thought that was a ridiculous thing when it came up once in a meditation. But I enjoyed the safety of suffering and feeling bad, because it meant that I didn't have to get out of my comfort zone and do things that made me feel good. And that was a pretty hard pill to swallow when you go, wow, why would I make myself feel bad on purpose? Oh, because I'm too scared to do the good stuff. So I think, how do you want to feel? Who when you work with people brings you the most joy? Don't look at your ideal clients as they're 43 and accountants and drive Mercedes, because that's what we do in marketing, is we do that. I really enjoy working with people that make me laugh, that feel safe to be vulnerable, or whatever it is, that's where you need to be drawing your ideas from your ideal client. Because if you're an owner operator, if you've got a small team, I tell you what, you are working personally with people. So let's design this so that you are personally connecting with people. And then the other question I would say is, what marketing do I just don't feel good about? Is it Instagram? Do I feel really bummed out every time I have to think about doing an Instagram post? Or do I hate going to networking groups, but I know I need to make money, so that's the thing. Look at the things that make you feel shitty and remove them. Remove them quick, smart, because as soon as you remove them, your brain's going to start looking at the things that might excite you, and you may become curious. And that thing, I'm going to start a walking group and we're going to go for walk and talks, or I'm going to, you know, it might be a better way of operating, and it's probably going to be something that puts you in a place that is more appealing to the market than what everybody else is doing. So how you feel, who you want to work with, and how you want to feel when you want to work with them, and what you hate doing, get rid of, so you can start working on what makes you excited and new opportunities.
Wow, awesome. Definitely.
And that's
cool
all
process.
under brand. You know, and then you build a brand based on that, not based on what you think needs to look good.
That's awesome. So if you guys, I love you to join with me in thanking Jacquie. That was always, when these questions come up, things are always going on in my mind. It's just an aspect of going deeper every time you ask these questions. So Jacquie, that's awesome. So I posted in the group, right? The post looks like this. If you guys, it'd be awesome to jump on there and give us what your biggest takeaway was, something that you can think about, something you can take away using your business. Maybe you can even give us an answer to some of those questions of maybe you feel something, maybe you love working with someone in particular, maybe you hate a particular aspect of marketing that you know is not aligned and you know you can get rid of, so you can, your brains can start working on what actually excites you. But this has been incredible. Is there anything else you want to finish up on?
No, just thank you for listening. I guess it's great. I can talk all day. And feel free to DM me if you guys have any questions. I'm pretty much an open book when it comes to this kind of stuff. The more people that get into flow, the more better the world's going to be. So I'm on a mission to make small business owners happy and relief and excited.
Totally. I'm totally on board. And so if you guys want to comment on that post, and Jacquie can reach out, you can reach out to Jacquie. Definitely add it to your network. She's not only a powerhouse, but so cool to just talk to her and bounce ideas around, and that wealth of knowledge will go a long way. And so
I'm definitely, super dorky.
Definitely add her to your network. So thank you so much for everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Awesome, really appreciate it.
A cool group here. And Jacquie, once again, thanks so much. This will be on the YouTube channel if people want to watch the recording. But I'll see you guys in the group.
See ya. Bye.
Take care now. Have a good one.